How's it going, guys? It's Slater Cane from Wild Cane Supply Company here. This is actually my dad, who I like to call the original Wild Cane. You'll come to learn why I call him that here in a little bit. He kind of inspires us about how our brand runs and just like how we like to live our life. And he's going to tell us a little bit about growing up and all his adventures he's had since he's been a kid. So, introducing my dad, Dozier Cane.
How's it going, everybody? First of all, I'd want to say I'm really proud to be Slater's dad. I think he is a wonderful kid, and he's done super stuff with Wild Cane. I hope that you guys keep buying it and things keep going well for him. But I guess the adventures, I'd have to say, started with my father. I was 7 years old. He took the whole family to Oahu and Waikiki. And when I was 7, that was the first time I learned to surf. The day we surfed, I remember this in particular experience. I caught 2 waves, surfed perfect, got down, paddled back out. Third wave fell off, board went to the beach, and I swam in crying. You know, where's my mom? But that was probably the start of all the adventures, and pretty much from there started, regularly surfing, and I always played baseball with my friends growing up, Keith Whitehead. And I think the biggest adventure started day after high school when John Payne, myself, Jay Vardaman, and Kevin White, we moved to the North Shore of Kauai. So we were there to surf the North Shore season, but we swiftly realized that we just got out of school and it was summertime. So we were surfing the South Shore a lot. And I kind of went, this isn't what I came for. So I left. And then I went right back a few months later in late August and early September, and actually had the best surfing September of my life with John Payne at Honolulu Bay, North Shore, Kauai. And every year for the next 6 years, I went back and surfed that season. I'd go, I'd come home, and I'd work for however long it took to make $2,000, and then I'd go back to the islands for the winter. And I did that 5 years in a row, and then finally I said, God, I probably got to maybe knuckle down and start thinking about being, responsible. That's how the adventure started, and that was the big adventure when I turned 18, because I was able to go to Kauai. And when I'd come back from Kauai on some of those years, I'd go straight to Arizona with my friend Rick, and we'd go snow skiing. And as snow skiing went along, I did a lot. I did a lot of snow skiing, jumping off cliffs in Mammoth, off Hair Jump. And
I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Yeah, no. The cornice doesn't really exist anymore in Mammoth. But in the old days, the wind would blow up the mountain, and it would push up a vertical lift 10 or 15 feet. And then you'd hit the slope at, I don't know, I think it was 35, 40 degrees, pretty steep. And what we do is 3 or 4 of us would ski to the edge of the lip, and whoever was going to go first would go back up, and there'd be 2 guys standing there signaling, yeah, it's clear. There's nobody, you're not going to land on anybody. And we'd ski off that lip and then hit the cornice and ski down to the cornice. Get 3/4 of the way down, we'd stop, recongregate, and then you could bomb the cornice all the way through, I believe the ski run was called San Antone. So you're coming down like this, and you start going up the hill, and then it just drops off. We go, I don't know, 15, 20 feet in the air, about 60 feet. And I have to say, I learned that from Robin Yount, the Hall of Fame baseball player.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up with him. My best friend, Keith, his brother was friends with Rob, so I did a lot of stuff with him. That actually got me into skiing. So there was a lot of ski adventures in those days too, on top of all the early surf days,
Yeah.
But then things promoted, the surfing world really came of age with exploration, and there were some spots in Indonesia that they were being discovered. Whether by accident or on purpose, I'm not sure. But in the early 90s, there was a movie out there with Kelly Slater, and it'd show him surfing this place now called HT's, and it was Rights with No Names because nobody ever surfed there before. They didn't know what to call it. So my friend John that I mentioned earlier, his brother-in-law is a famous surfer, Randy Rarick. Some of them might know who Randy is. Randy talked John into going on a 21-day boat trip in Indonesia to some of those, islands out there off the coast of Sumatra. And he came back and he shared that information with me. Well, then we quickly organized our own boat trip to go out there. And that took a couple years to do because I was raising a family at the time. And once we got that organized, like I said, it was about a couple years later.
Was I born by that time, or was this a little bit before me?
No, it was. You were probably 4 years old,
okay.
5 years old. You were definitely around because I didn't start going down to Indonesia until '98.
Okay.
So '98, I was, I think I was in my 40s probably. But all through my 30s, when I was raising you and your brother, I mean, the islands were discovered, and all I did was watch videos, and I'm like, oh man, I want to go there. I want to go there.
Yeah.
But it was, you couldn't go there when you're raising a family. At least I did. So when I was about 42, '98, we went down on my first boat trip, and there was 8 of us, and we went on a boat called the Nagalao, and it was quite an adventure. You fly 24 hours, and you get into Sumatra. And then in Sumatra, Padang, you get on a boat and you drive 80 miles out into the Indian Ocean. And then there's these areas out there that are just
super remote.
Super remote. Disneyland for surfers. The conditions are calm. And when the wind blows one way, as the waves wrap around this little island, the wind blows this way offshore. When the wind shifts, it blows that way offshore. So you just get in your boat and you go over to the other side of the island and you start surfing over there. So that was really a incredible once-in-a-lifetime adventure. I mean, to go on this boat and island hop from island to island, surf break to surf break, with just 8 of your friends, and you might see 1 or 2 or maybe 3 boats of other surfers doing the same thing. That trade at that time was very new. So there wasn't a lot of boats driving around out at these islands looking for surf. So it was pretty uncrowded those days.
Nowadays, it's probably like...
nowadays it's out of control because, not out of control. It's just different because surfing became so popular so fast in these remote island chains that on the popular surf breaks, the landowners or family members that all of a sudden claim that land would put up what they would call private surf camps. So now you have to pay to go onto this island and go on the surf camp. And now they closed that surf break. So the boaters who originally started the whole thing, they'd go boat hopping, Private Island, they stopped them from coming to their certain break. So that's how big it's gotten. And there's hotels like Rights with No Names. And further later on in life, it was called Hollow Trees, but really HTs for Hollow Trees.
Yeah.
There's a hotel there now.
Oh wow! And it was just like basically just Bear Island, or?
Well, no, there was a village. When the first time we went there was a village there, and the guides on the boat said, hey, we can go on, we can go land into land, and we can check out the little village. So we got in a little canoe, our little surf dinghy, because every large boat that we drive around in had a little tenor or a dinghy that we get in, and we jammed onto the island, and we got onto this island, and it was really primitive huts and structures. The malaria was, runs pretty strong in that area. So they said like 1 in 5 children would make it alive, past 5.
Damn.
So the odds aren't very good. So we were all pretty paranoid about getting malaria, but we did go onto the island, and we did see these incredibly primitive thatched huts. And as we went around the little bit of a village there was 2 guys actually carving out a tree trunk to make a canoe.
That's cool.
It was really quite an experience to see, this coming from are such a modern world, not even realizing that in other parts of the world there's primitive civilizations
Yeah.
and people living just like they did 100 years ago. I mean, their supplies came from, I think it was an Australian barge that would come up through the channel between Sumatra and Java and up through that channel off the coast. And they would park in a certain spot, and the islanders in their
Would have to like
canoes
boat out and
canoe
tow
out.
it back, or what?
Yeah, they'd have to canoe out, get their supplies, and canoe back. Um, and
That's a trek.
that was to see that is absolutely mind blowing. Coming from this kind of a modern neighborhood, but that was a 12-day trip. So we surfed. We actually fought some bad winds, but we surfed a lot. And there was one particular day, wow, we'd never really surfed HTs before. We pulled up in the morning or the afternoon, no boats, but the wind was funky. Didn't look that treacherous.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, let's give it a try. Oh man, the first two guys that went out, I wasn't one of them. They got thumped hard, lost their board, cord broke, drug across a reef. And so we kind of decided, like, let's just wait.
Yeah.
And we waited and waited and waited and waited, like for 3 hours, and still the same crappy stuff. We're like, let's just go over to Lance's left, and maybe it's better over there because the way the wind was blowing. We went over there, and it was okay. But just as we were all anchoring up and getting in the water, the wind had a major shift, and you could feel it. And the skipper's like, "You guys don't go in. Let's get out of here." So we jumped in the boat. We hauled ass back around the island where we just were.
Yeah.
I'd been waiting 3 hours, anchored up, and there's in the afternoon was pretty good size, blown out, chunky, weird surf. Now we go there, and in just a matter of maybe an hour, it's now perfect glass offshore, perfect pitching peaks into barrels down the reef.
That's rad.
Oh my God, you can't get your board fast enough, And it was just a phenomenal session. It was late in the day because, we'd done that jockeying around. So one boat leaves, next boat leaves. We're the only boat there. Now we're the only 8 left in the water, and it's dusk going on dark. And our boat pulls anchor and leaves. We're like, what? It's leaving? And then as it left, the dinghy dropped off, came back, and he anchored up, and he goes, "I'll wait for you guys." So we surfed for like another hour until total darkness into these insane cylinders. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times we all got tubed and barreled. And then it was such a memorable experience when we were done with that session. We all climbed into the dinghy, all 8 of us, boards all piled up on the nose of the dinghy, strapped down, and we're all sitting on the side of the dinghy, racing through the little channel, because outside there's a reef, waves break on. Then there's a channel, then the island, and we're racing in between the island, just jamming along, freezing cold because we're wet. It's pretty warm in the water, but when you're jamming 30 or 25 with no wetsuit,
it gets cold. And
we were just so giddy that we just couldn't believe we had surfed, a session like that. And that was, a very memorable session. And the rest of the trip, kind of a blur on that one.
Yeah.
Because we had fought a lot of wind. So next year came around, we jammed out again, and we started wave hopping down these islands. And it was actually really so interesting. When we got to Lance's left, there was like 4 or 5 boats. One of the boats we had already made friends with, and there was another boat we thought we might have known them, but they recognized us being from their neighborhood, but we didn't recognize them. Then we went later that day when the wind switched back to the same place I was telling about. This is a totally different trip. We were surfing, and there was only two boats there. And the ironic thing is, what I'm getting to is the waves were really good again. I actually rode the entire HT's reef from the very top down through the surgeon's tables in the tube. And I did that 3 times in a row that session. And there, each wave I came out of, there was a guy in a boat filming. And on the 3rd time, I paddled up to him. I'm like, hey, did you get any of those? And he was filming his other friends, so his
Yeah.
answer was kind of no. But I'm telling you this because that was Jesse Moda.
Oh, no way.
I'm not kidding you. That was Jesse Moda, and Jesse Moda is a shop owner for Revolution in our neighborhood. So that was the second time I had met Jesse, and the first time I met Jesse was in '98 when he opened his shop. So it might have been the next year, '99, that you know. And probably from then on, Jesse and I became really good friends. And
That's such a small world.
it was such a small world. And then next year came around, we organized another trip. This time we went on another boat called the Saranya. It was a British PT steel boat. And the guy who owned it actually built a walk-in refrigerator into it so he could really store, and a freezer, store a lot of stuff. So he had a lot of range in his boat. So the next year came along, and we island hop, and we went way down into southern Menai Islands, and we scored some of the best waves. I don't even remember the names, maybe Mutz and the Hole. Yeah, it actually was the Hole. And really remote. I mean, so remote. The most southern island, there's a wave on the end of it on the right swell and wind and all that called Lighthouse. And the reason it's a lighthouse is because it's the end of the chain. Nobody lives there, but there's a big lighthouse there for the mariners. So one of the locals who live on one of the other islands, they have to come out and stay on that island to maintain the lighthouse, one, two, three times, a week.
Yeah.
Then they switch. And, they invited us right up into the lighthouse. You can go up and look around the lighthouse, and you're just like, you're looking at a huge rock, small island, just covered in trees and gigantic bugs.
Oh, God.
Gigantic bugs, big green flies, and medicine ball stuff.
Jeez.
But those adventures are really epic. You're with 8 buddies, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and you go to a place like that. And the surf spot right around the corner from that was a place called the Hole, which maybe been in 1 or 2 movies.
Yeah.
And it was on our hit list to go surf, so we were way down in the southern chain, and we actually got it really good. And it is a insane little rock wave where the wave comes this way, and the island's up here, and it just does a 180.
Oh, yeah.
And you end up catching a 180, type wave where the reef comes out, and then there's no reef. So it starts breaking on that reef, and it just peels down that reef. And when the barrel ends, you kick out, you have to get out. Otherwise, it closes out on dry reef.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
yeah.
we were quite nervous, being newbies and never really surfed the wave. And of course, down there the waves have the ocean, the Southern Indian Ocean doesn't have a continental shelf like the Pacific Ocean. So the waves come up from the Pacific Ocean, there's a continental shelf, and it slows the whole swell dynamics of the swell down, so the waves are much slower here in California.
Okay.
But in the Indian Ocean, there's no continental shelf, and the strong, powerful winds and storms come right up and blow right into those islands, and the waves just get, just super fun, and very powerful. So when you come across a new wave you never surfed, it's right on a reef, and then a closeout dry reef, you're pretty cautious. But that's the adventure of getting out there and actually learning that and actually succeeding. A lot of guys, I got reefed, at a place called Macaroni's. Jesse got reefed the Hole. But usually it was pretty safe.
Yeah.
But there again, you're surfing in the middle of nowhere with your buddies, and there's no hospitals around, and you're surfing razor sharp reefs. So
that's pretty sketchy.
You got to drive, steer on this fine line of what kind of chances you take for the rush you're after. And oh man, I don't want to get hurt because getting airlifted out of here. We all get insurance for it, but you don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So it's there again, that's the adventure. It's the unknown. You go down there and you don't know where you're going to surf, what you're going to surf, how it's going to be, who you're going to see. And it's all just every day's new and a blessed adventure just to be alive, and see these incredible spots. We'd pull up to these villages, 3 or 4 huts, beautiful palm trees, and I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 12 kids in the neighborhood. I think it was my 3rd trip. I took some stuff for the local people. I took, I think, 1 or 2 soccer balls and then a little pump and pumped it up. And then when we happened to be at one of the surf spots and it wasn't that good, it was maybe flat, got on the jet ski, ran into the island, found the kids and gave them a soccer ball, played soccer with them for a while. And, you get a lot of warmth in your heart on that, seeing little kids, 5 to 7, probably brothers or friends or whatever, and they're brand new ball.
Yeah, just coming in on a jet ski is something that they probably haven't seen that often, and just giving them something so simple that they're stoked about.
Yep, and it's just there again. Sometimes you might go for just the surf, the rush, the barrel, the whatever you're after, but the whole thing is it's the experience in general.
Yeah,
it's the whole experience. I mean, yeah, you surf at home, yeah, you surf over there, but when you go do something as special as that, it's a genuine adventure.
Yeah, I'm always saying that the destination's cool and the things that you do at the destination is pretty rad, but I feel like it's all about the journey and like the memories you make on your way to the destination rather than the destination itself. Because when you get there, there's only so many things you can do. It's fun. It's a great fun time to be there. But like I said, just on the way to the destination is what I feel like creates the most memories.
Yeah. And the memories are what you look back on.
Yeah.
And I can tell you now at my age, I'm so blessed that I have a lot of memories to look back on. I mean, all the time I was going through snow skiing, surfing, snowboarding, fishing, diving, it seemed like I wasn't going enough.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I'm starting, all those memories, I think back and I'm just like, wow. I mean, at one time I had 60 lobster tails in the freezer.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
I'd be lobster diving at night at the Channel Islands, regularly. But it didn't seem like it at the time, so I always wanted to go more.
Yeah.
So there again, another, memories and experiences. And I'm telling you, the adventure makes it. You go out there, you try and time the weather, but you get in the boat in the afternoon, you run across the channel and you pick your spots and you don't know if the bugs are there or not. So they're not. You get in the boat and you drive to another spot and you island hop and that's at night. So you're just jumping in the water with a flashlight and grabbing a lobster barehanded. Yeah. And that's an adventure because sometimes the seals show up and they can get kind of scary when you see a big shadow, flash by your light. You're like, whoa, what was that? But those are spectacular memories that I have and will always cherish,
Yeah.
Like the ones I have with you going, snowboarding. And I think when we set you up on that go-kart class before you started, I
think about that all the time. Like I actually still use those techniques in just my regular driving because I know that's what you bought the course for. I was just about to get my license or my permit or something like that, and you're like, you should learn something small just like to get different techniques of what those kind of drivers use for real life driving.
Right.
And I know when I'm going through canyons, like up in the mountains or something, there's this technique that I learned at the go-kart school was the easiest way to go through a canyon or a turn is just stay as close to the inside as possible and just kind of keep going back and forth because then it's more like you're going straight rather than just like doing super sharp turns. And this past trip up to Hume Lake, there wasn't a lot of cars on the canyon, and you can see way up ahead if there is or not.
Right.
And the majority of the time, I was just kind of barely moving back and forth to just go straight. And I thought back on that course.
Yeah. That's
super
great.
cool.
Yeah, it's super cool, that stuff that, my dad, hey, he introduced me to so much stuff, like I said, surfing at 7, fishing, right away. He made all the kids swim competitively. My sisters and I, we swam all summer long. We went to this country club pool, and every day or 5 days a week, we had swim class and dive class and, all this incredible stuff that my parents provided for us. Of
Yeah.
course, for them it was cool because they got rid of the kids for the day every summer while they played golf. Because they were
Yeah.
golfers, and that's also what led me to want to surf larger waves. When I went to Hawaii, I was pretty proficient, and the thing that I had most confidence on is that I pretty much swim through anything.
Yeah.
If I put a pair of fins on, yeah, I can swim through it. So when Honolulu got big and I was, 18 years old, I looked like I was 12, kind of like how young you look.
Yeah.
Uh, it was scary, definitely scary, riding large waves, as a young man in a, strange place. I didn't grow up there. It's my first season there. Um, but I had a lot of confidence. You wipe out once or twice, and you survive, and you
Yeah.
figure out that okay, I can do this, and
Yeah.
and you tally on, and it's actually kind of cool because it seemed like in Kauai everybody had a nickname. There was Bobo and Bubber George and Snoid the Greek, and I guess because I looked so young and I would ride the larger waves, I got named the kid. Everybody'd be like, "What that kid doing out here?" Because I was new. I was
Yeah.
new to Kauai. It's my first season. What's that kid doing out here? What's that kid doing out here? So I was the kid.
Yeah.
So, but I tried to keep my nose clean. But yeah, I did get I did get in trouble. No, I didn't get in a fight. I just got punched out. But, that's just the way those boys were in Kauai. I made an honest mistake, and
Yeah.
he probably would have done worse to me if I didn't look so young. I think he was surprised. But,
Yeah.
so I got off the hook on that one.
That's good. That's good. I think I remember that story where um your board went to shore
Yeah.
and you went to go get it and they're like, "Oh, someone's got my board for me already?" And
That's it.
yeah.
Hey, brah. Hey, brah. Hey, is this your board? Yeah, thank you so much. Whack right in the side.
Yeah, I think about all these stories and it's like what really inspires the lifestyle of the brand, just how adventurous you were growing up and how you still are. Um, like taking me out on my first fishing trip recently. Super out of my comfort zone, but I was stoked to go and learned so much, and I can't wait for next year.
Yeah, there again is the experience.
Yeah.
I don't think you caught a lot of fish that trip.
No, I didn't. But like I said, it's not about like
Just the fish.
yeah, just the fish. It's about like you said, the camaraderie, just being on the boat, hanging with the guys or the gals too, whoever's on the boat, and just having a good time. And you're all there for the same reason, and just makes a great time.
Yeah, I'm super excited when those trips come up. You've seen me in the garage, tying gear and getting ready, and and preparing for a trip, and it's just so special, especially this last year when you asked me if you wanted to go after
almost 20 years
20 years of not fishing because of a fish scale in your eye at 6.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was very pleased, and then to be on the boat with you and your brother, man, that's a heart warmer, man. So I'm looking forward to more of those because your brother left early. We didn't get a lot of him, but those kind of things are what inspired you to do what you do with the Wild Cane brand, and it's super nice to see that you've expanded on the adventure that the whole family has really had. At least my father, me, and now you and your brother. Your brother's done a lot of adventures too. So all those adventures wore off. Even the family ones to Costa Rica.
Yeah, I still think about the Costa Rica ones all the time. Like I'm telling my coworkers about them. I remember them like if they were yesterday. And what's funny is that like I was born into like a surfer kind of family, and I never like got the gene to like go surf I enjoy it on the very rare occasion, but I don't know how I got into more like the mountains or camping. I know you and Mom took us camping up at the lakes and stuff like that, and maybe just that sparked something in me. But I know in my earlier 20s that or actually not. I think it started more in high school when John Becker took us up to the Sequoias.
Yeah.
And, that was like my area.
Yeah.
That's what I loved to be at, and just he taught us about the mountains. He taught me about the ocean, and
the bears,
the tarantulas, the snakes, everything like that. And you and John are both my dad.
Yeah,
like
he was a good second dad. There's no question.
No question. And I'll always cherish things that you both taught me and still teach me. More so you now. I don't really see John that much, but so like the brand is more into like the mountains and camping and stuff like that, but it's also just about adventure on the coast, going surfing on the islands, and like guys, I'm always talking about sitting around a campfire ring or going on the trail in your rig or something like that. But it's not just about that. It's like we talked about this whole podcast. It's just about getting out there, experiencing the unknown, or roads less traveled, for lack of better phrases, and just having fun with your friends and loved ones, and just creating memories to pass on to the next generation. And that's kind of what goes into the apparel as well. My dad has always taught me, if you're into something, get the best gear possible. So it's quality instead of quantity, and
it'll last a long time.
It'll last a long time. Yeah, you don't have to replace great gear, and we kind of take that into our apparel because made in the U.S. is super important to us. It just ensures that I'm able to go to where it's being made and quality check the things, and just know that you're getting a quality product from my company, and just know it's a good mission that we're on, born from a flaming lifestyle of exploration and where quality of life matters. So I just want to finish it up here, actually. Thank you so much, Dad,
welcome,
for coming on here and talking about your adventures growing up, and I'm stoked to make more with you.
Yep, I am too. Quality gear right here. You see me, I got my fishing hat on.
Yeah.
And next year's trip, I'll have my Pendleton on.
Sounds great.
All right, Slater. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Later, guys. See you next episode.